Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to the season finale of our F1 2004 career mode. Yes, we return this weekend here out in Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix, of course. If you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from the US, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. I have a couple of words to describe that race. Damn you, Mika Salo, and I will get my revenge, I'm sure. But yeah, as we return though here, 15 races down, one more to go. Of course, we've already wrapped up the Drivers' World Championship. We head here to Brazil with a 55-point lead. I think it's the most dominant championship win I've ever had, which surprisingly, because I haven't really dominated this season, to be honest. Only 4 wins over the course of the campaign. It's just been the fact I've finished off of the podium 4 times this season as well, and well, nobody else can even get close to matching that tally of success this year. It's just been one of those years where Toyota has very rarely been the fastest car, but we've just always been able to maximize it and get some big results as well. So that does mean, unfortunately, although we have won the Drivers' Championship, Toyota, we can't win the Constructors. Ferrari have wrapped that up. They've got a 55-point buffer ahead of BAR, but we are just 3 points back behind BAR as we head into this season finale, so we will be looking to try and get the better of them as well here. Of course, if you're new and you aren't already, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel as well. We are trying to hit 150,000 subs at the moment, but yeah, I don't know when this series is going to come back, to be completely honest with you. This might well be the last ever race we do of the F1 Ultimate Career Mode as well. So a massive thank you to all of you that have stuck around. For those of you that joined at the start, have followed later on. 7 seasons over the course of like 2.5 years, I want to say. It really has been a fun old journey. It's been a bit of a headache at times as well to try and get this mod working as it should be, but I'm hoping from the back of the field we can try and finish this campaign on a high.
Formula One returns to Sao Paulo once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Brazilian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his 3rd championship here in 2012, and in 2016, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil. It's a 2.7-mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights for a total of 15 corners. The fastest lap today should have an average speed of around 135 miles per hour, if of course the weather stays dry until the end of the Grand Prix. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. What a season they've had. A well-deserved championship victory, and the pressure now surely off with the title already in the bag.
It really is well-deserved. I wouldn't say it's been a faultless title challenge, but certainly one that has been consistent and well-managed. Here's hoping they let off a bit of steam today and give us an exciting race.
Well, that is exactly what we have come here to do. Season finale here from Sao Paulo, and once again, McLaren seemed to be the dominant force over one lap qualifying yesterday. Front row lockout, 1/100th of a second in it between their 2 drivers, but it is Kimi Räikkönen who again starts from pole position. We're going to run again, as we tend to do on this game, especially when we're starting at the back of the field, the alternate strategy, but on a slightly softer bias. We didn't actually burn through much fuel last weekend at COTA, but of course Sao Paulo, a tight twisty middle sector, bookended by 2 very, very fast sections. I think we're going to burn through some fuel today for what might well be the last time ever in the F1 Ultimate Career Mode. The 5 red lights are coming on here in Sao Paulo, and it is lights out, and away we go there, and, well, sticking to true form, not getting off to the best start in the world. We'll take it nice and easy down in towards turn 1. Don't really need to risk anything, but will everybody make it through the first couple of corners of this finale without too many issues? Glock, Wirtz and Wilson there. Oh, 3 wide, as apparently I'm just understeering off. Got to get some temperature into the tyres, apparently nice and early on. That was not ideal. It's braking down then in towards the next corner. Just see there's a lot of 2 wide action just up the road, but
let's try and move forward.
yeah, will Kimi Räikkönen be able to get his 2nd race victory in a row? Could we see David Coulthard, yeah, become our 9th different winner of the year. Only time will tell as down the inside of Marc Genet. Hopefully we're going to be able to try and get that one around the outside through the next corner there. Good wheel-to-wheel racing with the Spaniard on this opening lap, as then down the inside of his teammate Justin Wilson. And again, the AI, you're there, you're in front of them. And they still try to turn in for the apex. Oh, I can't see Mo Block. I mean, these guys, yeah, I do not miss the days of being in the back market car inside this series there. But out of the final corner then to finish lap 1. We've made decent progress, up 3 places. And that's been a pretty good start as Vert's now trying to go side by side with Mika Salo. I mean, Salo's getting mugged by everybody on the run back up towards the start-finish line there. Barrichello as well. Of course, home Grand Prix for him. He'll be looking for a good result. Around the outside of Salo, we will go through turn 1, kick the back end out. And just remind him he's on my enemies list. Barrichello there, just making a little bit of a wobble up through Ferradura, so we will have a look down the inside. Again, we've got to try and be fairly quick with making these moves there, as we'll kind of rudely slam the door shut in his face through the exit of the corner. And then down the inside of Verts at the very next turn as well. They're all a little bit optimistic that time round. But we'll carry the speed off of the corner. We'll have the inside line as we descend down the drop in towards that final corner of Zheng Sao. But yeah, again, we're able to make good progress early on. I mean, we've got multiple seconds a lap advantage over some of these guys, as I believe it is still Kimi Räikkönen at the front. Ferrari, though, looks to be pretty racy here as Jarno Trulli and Mark Webber side by side at turn 1. We will try and go super late on the brakes, though, get down the inside of the pair of them. And what a double overtake down at turn 1 there. Absolutely love that. Here we go, Zolt Baumgartner now trying to go wheel to wheel with Olivier Panis. And, well, BAR so strong throughout so many Grand Prix this season. But, yeah, just that middle leg. All the European races seem to feature really, really high-speed straights that played into BAR's hand. And then we've come back to a lot of more almost old-school circuits towards the end of the season and just more tight, intricate layouts. And the BAR has really, really struggled. Olivier Panis there just slamming the door in my face, but really struggling to kind of get that car positioned where he needed it. It's down in towards the final couple of corners. I mean, we're practically pushing him along, aren't we, in that Sauber down the inside. Again, we can afford to brake super late in this car where it is so light. And we're almost back into the points already. Zolt Baumgartner, again, the AI, I mean, especially that BAR car. Pretty much like Formula 1's equivalent of a Top Fuel dragster, that thing. So down the inside of the Hungarian, we will go with that final corner. And Jenson Button having a pretty good day of it so far, as Michael Schumacher then up at the front of, well, setting new fastest laps there up towards the front of the order. So maybe Ferrari have got a bit of race pace over McLaren as well. But yeah, Button often has been kind of that driver on the fringes of the top 10. Has been a real shame. You know, so many missed opportunities for wins last year for JB. But it's never quite worked out for him, did it? You know, as well as it should have done in that Renault car. And then this year, the car just nowhere near where it needed to be. So ultimately, yeah, they put all their focus into next year's car. Or that we might not even see as Jenson Button. I mean, he runs wide through the apex of Ferradura. We have a look down the inside, and apparently I get the warning for the collision. Even though he just tried to move back across me through the middle point of that corner. But, yeah, through this tight, twisty, technical section. Oh, JB there, that Renault should be pretty good. Just trying to get the power down there, open up the run in towards this final corner. It's not usually where I try to go for overtakes around this lap, but again, well, if I don't run too deep through the exit, we're going to make another one happen. Well, there we go. New fastest lap of the day. So clearly, once again, then, we've got speed in this Toyota car. And it's kind of interesting, isn't it, just how dominant the Big Five teams have been this year. I mean, the only time anybody else has scored has been, you know, during crazy races or chaotic weather, that kind of thing. And obviously, we can just move our way through those slower cars with great ease. And then already, you know, we're not even at lap 10 yet. And there's already about a 10-second gap between your front runners and everybody else here. And let's be fair, Jenson Button doing a pretty good job early on in this race. Of course, we have got to think about the bigger picture. Luckily, Giancarlo Fisichella actually got a pretty good qualifying effort wrapped up yesterday. And BAR, another circuit where they're set to struggle. So we should beat them overall, unless something crazy happens. Here we go then, Juan Pablo Montoya actually getting a run on the BMW Williams car there. quite got the same top end speed though, unless we stay tucked up in the slipstream. There's another new fastest lap of the day. Or down the inside though at turn 1 in a similar move to obviously what Juan did himself all those years ago. And we are up into 8th spot. I want to try and get past Anthony Davidson nice and quickly, but we might be under pressure from JPM again, as there's lots of battling going on just up in front. Fisichella is slowly dropping down the order by the looks of it, so we've got to try and help him out. Making our way then down in towards the final couple of corners as we make it to 1/4 distance in this race. You can see Anthony Davidson a little bit out of shape there through that final turn, and we will launch it to the inside of the BAR Honda. But of course we know how quick that thing is in a straight line. How fast will Davidson try and come back around the outside there? Look at that. Team, as always, trying to recommend me some new strategies. I don't think I'm too interested. Yep, as always, they just think we can take this first set of tyres a little bit further. Got no real interest in doing that, but I do need to defend Danny Esquido Lago here from Anthony Davidson once more, as I look to our outside there. But luckily, the straights here in Brazil, just not long enough that the BAR can really stretch its legs. It's right at the top end where that car is rapid. Let's see then how much of a fight will Giancarlo Fisichella put up. So I think he qualified 4th yesterday, so had a really, really good effort on Saturday these last few weekends, but ultimately still struggles over race stints to keep that car exactly where he needs it. As I believe it is still both McLarens at the front of the order, just ahead of Michael Schumacher. Trying to rotate the front of the car through nice and tidy. Definitely not going to get that run where I need it. But can we get the legs on our teammate out of that final corner? Rich revs once again. Try and get the throttle down. Rev out every gear as best as we can. To the inside we will go. And Giancarlo Fisichella then again knows it's not really worth his fight. Knows we've got to work together here. Think about the bigger picture. From the back of the field all the way up to P6 already. We're averaging more than an overtake a lap. Closing up then onto the gearbox of Schumacher's Ferrari. Again, I wonder how he'll feel about his first season racing alongside his brother. Of course, technically it kind of half happened back in 1999. Obviously with the No, that was when we were at Jordan, wasn't it? That for half a season, Ralph and Michael were kind of back together before the mod completely broke for the first time inside this game there. I'm genuinely, I remember that happening. Because it was the Monaco Grand Prix, if I remember correctly. I just had the best race of my life. And obviously what would happen is you'd cross the finish line, the game would cut to like that offset T-cam angle. Obviously just for a few seconds whilst it did the radio message and stuff. And I must have watched that car go around and do laps for about the next 10 minutes before I finally accepted that something was, you know, completely broken. That was probably, yeah, one of the better Monaco Grand Prix we've had in this series. I believe it was my first win in Monte Carlo. But ultimately, it was all for naught. As around the outside, oh, Ralph will try and have a look. Definitely not going to make the move happen there as he gives me a big old squeeze. Oh, no, Ralf Schumacher. He just moved across me back towards the curb. And we will be sent spinning then. Come on, get the car back on the road. Don't want to lose out to Jenson Button. But these last couple of races, just little moments that could define whether we can win this race or not. Anthony Davidson into the pit lane at the end of that lap. So is Fernando Alonso. So we're going to immediately get a couple of those spots back temporarily. But that is annoying. We go then. Looks like a lot of our Michelin runners today having to stop this race. Enzo Baumgartner, Juan Pablo Montoya, both immediately into the pit lane as well. So Fisichella going to be back up into a pretty good spot. But yeah, we lost a good kind of 11-12 seconds to Ralf Schumacher and all of that. So if we lose this race by less than that gap, that might be what cost us one final win in this championship. So there we go. One of the Schumacher boys into the pit lane then. I don't know if that's Ralph or Michael. That is Michael Schumacher then. The first of the Ferraris to blink, as there we go, immediately back up with another new fastest lap as Coulthard. No, he definitely hasn't pit yet, has he? Is that Michael? Is that Ralph? I don't know what's going on. Either way, we're up to P5. I know the gap to Coulthard. We need to close in a second a lap if I want to beat him by the end of the afternoon. But obviously he's not even winning, I don't think. I'm pretty certain the Ferraris then are going to be one-stopping this race, but I don't know about the Williams and the BAR cars here, as there we go, that second Ferrari in. So Giancarlo Fisichella, he's going to have a nosebleed running this high up the order. So there we go, look at that, we're barely ahead of the Ferrari in this race. We've got to try and make up a whole pit stop, basically in the second half of the afternoon. But yeah, the car still feels good, there's still a lot of pace in it. We can definitely still get a good result. Dark clouds beginning then to loom around the Sao Paulo circuit. I don't believe it's too much of a cause for concern. There was never any rain predicted, and our engineer still doesn't believe there's going to be any seen today. But as Kimi Raikkonen then into the pit lane, we're going to follow him in, admittedly a long way further back. So yeah, Michael Schumacher's going to fly back past me, and I think he is up into the lead of the Grand Prix. So Ferrari might be able to try and chalk up a victory in this final race of this series. Come on, let me go. Making our way, though, out of the pit lane. This car is horrible around this circuit, thanks to all the bumps. I mean, you can feel it so heavily through the wheels. Oh, scraping up against the inside wall there. But we're going to come out just behind Zolt Baumgartner once again then. So we're going to have to try and make some moves. But at half distance then in this race, things are looking alright, but not fantastic. There we go. I can just see the top of Giancarlo Fisichella's car as he makes his way back out onto the circuit then, as he's going to be wheel-to-wheel with Zolt Baumgartner there as they head back out onto the track. Like I said, I think the BARs and the Williams are two-stopping this race. So really, really interesting kind of how the Michelin tyres works for some cars, but not so well for others. It's all Fizzy trying to slam the door in Zolt Baumgartner's face, but yeah, your top 10, exactly the 10 you would expect it to be at this stage of the afternoon. Can we try and get a good switch on Zolt up the hill? The Hungarian will try to defend the inside line, but nowhere near enough there, as we will move back up into 9th spot. Oh, you just got to manage the throttle so much, though, as we make our way back down the hill to the bottom of the circuit there. But I don't think Giancarlo will have the have the slipstream even off of those cars in front. He's floating about a second back behind Anthony Davidson, and I think that gap is just going to grow as our teammate there defends the inside line up the hill. We will set another new fastest lap. Oh, look at that Fizzy getting the elbows out for a change. I like to see it. Our teammate there finally deciding he wants to fight towards the end of this campaign, but can they get a good run at the Center S, down the Esquina de Lago, in towards turn 4 to the inside. We will go late on the brakes, and up then into P8 once more. As you can see now, Montoya and Anthony Davidson squabbling just in front of me, and they're just trying to find a bit of a gap, as he will have a look down the inside of Juan Pablo Montoya, and we will capitalise down the inside of the Colombian as well then. So we've got to try and make these moves happen at the moment. Really is critical if we want to be in the fight for at least a trophy this weekend. There is, of course, obviously the Schumachers and the McLarens a long way up the road still. Just try and get the front dived in through those final couple of corners. Always better to lift off slightly early and get the run out of the turn. And now we'll be able to get the power down to the inside of Anthony Davidson. Oh, it actually looks like his front left-hand wheel there slightly cocked up in the air. So I don't know if a little bit of suspension damage for him. But as we stay tucked up in the slipstream back in towards turn 1, down the inside, almost through the back of him, in towards that first corner there. But again, kick the back end out, and let's go. Oh, Alonso, big moment for Fernando Alonso there down through Ferradura, and I guess we'll kind of barge our way through. We'll get a warning for a collision once again, but not going to lose sleep over that one. Coulthard, 14 seconds up the road. I need a second a lap if I want to get to him by the end of the race. I think the win is gone, but I don't know if it's going to be Kimi or Michael that is going to claim it. Well, as we get to 2/3 distance then, David Coulthard, to be fair to him, we're gaining pretty much a second a lap, but then he does seem to make a few mistakes as well. So that lap, for example, we took closer to 2.5 out of him. So I think a few of these guys are really struggling. This car seems to come alive as track temperature begins to drop. But just over 10 laps to go. It is Michael Schumacher, yep, at the front of the order now. So Kimi Raikkonen desperate, I think, to try and keep up with him here. But I think I can see those two McLarens battling. So either that, or we're having to start deal with lapped cars, which, if we come across Mika Salo, you better believe I'm not going to give him much room. Yeah, it wasn't the McLarens, it is just the two Jordans that are having a bit of a battle just in front then. as we have rocked up to the back of Ralf Schumacher once more in this race. Luckily, Fisichella now back up into P6, so he's got a fairly sizable gap from Anthony Davidson. So we're looking pretty good for the Constructors P2 at the moment then. But as we round our way through that final corner, I believe it is Salo that is currently running in last spot then in this GP. So disappointing afternoon for Jordan. And maybe he doesn't know I'm here because he's actually starting to get out of the way. Let's look at that, 208 miles an hour up into Waldstone. Oh no, the Jordans have come together. Whoa, I'm not quite sure what was going on there, but Timo Glock just seemed to break way more than Salo was expecting him to there. I don't know if they've lost like the front wing or got much damage from that, but no idea what kind of miscommunication that was. Ralf Schumacher though really struggling up through the top of the circuit. Down the inside we will go. Way too optimistic though. So we will try and keep the car alongside, and sometimes that's all you can do. Whoa, or barge into him. Apologies, Ralf. Maybe getting the elbows out a little bit too much late on this season. As there you go, Schumacher actually able to defend the position that time around. We'll be able to have a look down the inside in towards the final corner. Yes, we will. And there we go, moving back up then into 4th spot in this Grand Prix. I can see the gap to both of those McLarens. They are nose to tail here with a handful of laps to go. As we look at that run, Ralf Schumacher there, that Ferrari V10 stretching its legs up the hill. Down the inside though at turn 1, we will make the spot work for good. Well, there we go then. Looks to be a bit of a swapper going on then. Oh, as we've got yellows out. Don't say the McLarens have come together whilst they're still trying to battle late on in the day. We've got green flags out again, but they have lost bags of time in the process. And this is just what I was about to talk about. If those McLarens start to fight a lot more, maybe, just maybe, we can get involved as Raikkonen this time able to keep DC at bay. Of course, yeah, obviously, I'm pretty certain David Coulthard IRL 2004 was like the first year in about 8 where he hadn't won a Grand Prix either. Looks to be the same thing that's going to happen this season, but he's definitely had other winless seasons in this series. Well, about to start the last few laps then of this Grand Prix. Annoyingly, we just temporarily lost 2nd gear, and I think unless those McLarens really battle again now, I think we're going to be confined to a P4 finish late on in the day. Ralf Schumacher, he's really struggled towards the end, has dropped back into our teammates' clutches as well. Again, those McLarens are going to go wheel to wheel through those first few turns. I'm going to give up on this just yet. If we can get close enough to have a go, I'm certainly going to try to. But yeah, Michael Schumacher though, like I said, it's been a disappointing year for him. I think he was hoping with us leaving Ferrari that he was going to be able to dominate and obviously claim his 4th world title in a way that obviously kind of managed to get obviously his 7th world title IRL with, but ultimately has not been the case this year. Big challenge coming from Toyota, from BAR, from Williams, from McLaren. 5 different teams have won races this year. 8 different drivers have been Grand Prix winners. Everybody from those big teams, with the exception of Fisichella and David Coulthard as well there. So I'm sure, yeah, they'll both be a little bit gutted with that one as well. But I spoke about it in Brazil. Sorry, in Suzuka even. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to say with definite that this series will never return, but at the moment, I think just with how much work it takes to keep the mod running and everything like that, obviously Geki has gone on to bigger and better things as well. There are still a few people kind of in his Discord server that do try and work on fixes and things like that, but ultimately, I remember mentioning it, to get this season working, it took me the better part of probably about 18 hours just trying to fix numbers, fix lines of code, to try and make sure that this season was going to be competitive. And, well, it's safe to say, I think it's probably been the best season we've had inside this series, though. It has been a real laugh. It's so unpredictable at times as well, and kind of weird that in all that unpredictability that we've been able to dominate the way we have. But it just goes to show, sometimes in Formula 1, just out-and-out consistency, even if you can't win that many races, just being there towards the front can be enough to make sure that you win a world championship at the end of the day there. One more lap to go for Michael Schumacher. I could not tell you if he won the first race of this series back in 1998. It might have been him. It was either probably him or Eddie Irvine, if I remember correctly. Obviously, Irvine winning that first World Championship. Michael obviously would reign supreme in 1999, before it would be again his new teammate Pedro De La Rosa, rather weird one, to win the crown. We would claim, though, I believe, in 2001. I think, I can't remember who won 2002. Obviously, before we would come back in fighting form in 2003. I believe it might have been just, was it just Villeneuve that won 2002? I think it might have been. We won 2003. We have won 2004. Michael Schumacher, though, he is going to win the final race of the season. We will come through not far behind, and dare I say it, that spin made the difference.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
So the celebrations begin, and well-earned they are indeed. It may have looked simple at times, but as any racing driver will tell you, competing at this level, at the very top, is anything but simple. There's no catching them now then. We have a new World Drivers' Champion. It's been a roller coaster season then, but they can go into the winter with their heads held high after an emphatic victory here today. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari do it again.
Well, there we are then. I did say that, obviously we lost 11 seconds in that spin. If we lost the Grand Prix by less than 11, then we had a good scapegoat and, well, 7 seconds behind at the end of the day. What could have been 2 races in a row right at the end of the year, where unfortunately we just have not quite been able to chalk it up. But that being said, though, Michael Schumacher, a tough campaign this year. Throughout most of this era of Formula 1, though, that this series has covered, Michael Schumacher was the dominant force. So I think it is fitting that he gets to claim the last victory of this series. Kimi Raikkonen in P2 just ahead of David Coulthard means that I believe it was only Anthony Davidson that won back-to-back races this year, I think across Belgium and Monza, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, it just, like I said, so unpredictable, so wild all year long that it really has been fascinating. We will come through for 4th ahead of Ralf Schumacher, Giancarlo Fisichella ahead of Davidson, both Williams there ahead of Zot Baumgartner, as many drivers on a 2-stop strategy. Sensibly, I don't think was the way to go. Jenson Button narrowly misses out on points once again, just ahead of Olivier Panis. Wirtz, Trulli, Webber within both Menardes and both Jordans. And of course, it was Rubens Barrichello that failed to see the checkered flag, because why would the Brazilian always have bad luck here in Sao Paulo? Let's have a look then at our final World Championship standings. For the 3rd time ever, we are World Champion then. Obviously, once with McLaren, once with Ferrari, and once with Toyota. 42 clear of Michael Schumacher. Goes to show, I believe he took 3 wins over the course of the campaign. That again, he was very, very consistent. Just those 2 back-to-back DNFs ultimately cost him in what probably still would have been a very, very close championship fight. Ralf Schumacher comes through in a brilliant 3rd place during his first year with Ferrari as well. Able to hang on ahead of Anthony Davidson, who really struggled right towards the very end. And look at that, Zot Baumgartner, 1 point ahead of David Coulthard, 3 points ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. So barely able to hang on there. And Fernando Alonso, a disappointing final race, sees him drop down to P8. Juan Pablo Montoya often seemed to struggle later on in the year as well, just ahead of a very lonely Giancarlo Fisichella. Button, best of the rest, ahead of Alexander Wirtz. Barrichello with 4 points, just ahead of Jarno Trulli. Mark Webber, Olivier Panis and Mika Salo all tied on 1 point apiece, with just Marc Genet, Justin Wilson, and Timo Glock the only drivers who failed to score. Constructors-wise, though, Ferrari 73 clear come the end of the season, but we do beat BAR by 10 points come the season finale. They did come on really strong later on in the year, but ultimately I was quietly confident that in those last few races, we would be able to get the better of them. McLaren, actually, given another couple of Grand Prix, could have re-jumped BAR as well, depending on what track we would have head to there. And yeah, like I said, Williams probably a little bit gutted to be down in P5, considering how quick that car was. But just goes to show the dominance of your big 5 teams this year. Renault ahead of Jaguar, Sauber, Jordan, and then obviously Minardi, the only team that failed to score. Thank you all so much for watching. Like I said in the intro, you know, this series has been well over 2 years in the works. I keep saying it. It might not be the end forever, but it might also be. So, yeah, a massive thank you to everybody that has supported us. 3-time world champion. I think we can hold our head up high from the 7 seasons we've done in this campaign. From starting life at Arrows, almost winning the championship with Jordan, heading over to BAR, and then obviously to McLaren, through obviously Ferrari, and then here to Toyota. We moved around quite a lot, but I have had a lot of fun with it as well. That's going to do us for this one, though. A massive thank you to everybody, and we'll be back very soon with more Formula 1 content.